Ladies and gentlemen, I give you our guest of honor, Naa Andani and Max Kunda.
Thank you very much for that kind introduction. I will introduce myself a little bit later so you know a little bit more about how we're helping MIG and collaborating on some of the technical topics that we've discussed today. So to start off this fireside chat, Naa Andani, of course you are a very experienced economist, and we've just heard from Honourable Banda certain topics such as the soya bean project, the bamboo project, and some of the other things that MIG is currently working on. How do you believe that some of the macroeconomic benefits that could result from some of these projects could have an effect on the Zongo Inner-Cities and Ghana in general?
Thank you very much. And first and foremost, I want to thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity. I particularly want to thank my brother, the Honourable Banda, and who gave me this honor. But he didn't tell me that I was coming into royalty. Now, the Naa chairman is my father. He sits in the skins of my father. And I feel completely naked sitting the way I'm dressed here. But so, Honourable Banda, you have to be prepared to pay the fines for bringing me here naked. But thank you very much. And I think I just step back very quickly so that we understand who we are as Zongo people. If we don't understand who we are going to miss the opportunities these initiatives are bringing. And I want us to exploit the word inner city, because we came from all across Ghana, largely untrained, to take part in the economic and political evolution of Ghana. So most of us would have come into Accra, then subsequently Kumasi, then Tamale, and all those economic cities. We came as individuals, and because we were poor, were given locations far away from the economic activities. So we went and settled in these faraway locations at that time. With our individual skills, were not aggregated together. Today, we are in the middle of the cities, and they call us Zongo and Inner-Cities. So I want us to start to exploit that middle name, Inner-City. Because once upon a time, they were throwing us away because we didn't belong. We were poor and did not have the means. So we came to settle in Nima, in Medina, which were very, very poor neighborhoods. Totally nothing. No water, no electricity. They were complete swamps. Today, we are in the middle of these cities. So it's important we know that. The other thing I want us to know before we go to this is that we came as individuals. There is no way you can break out economically as an individual. There is no way you can break out economically as individuals. You can only get a job which would employ you for 25, 30 years, and you retire on a pension. God knows how long that will take you. So again, as people in the Zongo and inner cities, we have a lot of skills. As my questioner has said, we have electricians, we have plumbers, we have food. In fact, the best food in Ghana is in the Zongos. Yet, we do all of this as individuals, and we end up with nothing. So before we start, I always like to say that there's a benefit in aggregation, to aggregate, to come together, to produce. The most profitable companies in the world employ over 100,000 people. 50,000 people, 5,000 people, 100 people. That's how wealth is created. But if you are in the Zongo city participating in these programs as an individual, you're not going to make much progress. So my number one suggestion to my friends, the Maxwell Investment Group, is to let my people in the Zongo begin to form what I call economic clusters. So whether we are doing soya bean, we are doing any of those, we come together as economic clusters so that our production can be on a bigger scale, it can be more efficient, and we can reward each other more. We should not come into these programs as individual employees. Do I make myself clear?
Yeah, absolutely. And as a chief yourself, how do you think that traditional authorities and local government within the Zongo inner cities can help create this sense of togetherness and help these clusters form? Do you have any suggestions on that front?
Yes, I think as chiefs, especially in the Zongo communities, and our people revere us a lot, we've got to provide proper leadership. Proper leadership in creating these aggregate groups. I heard about affordable housing. Now just look at Nima. That is the most precious square mile in Accra. And look at the kind of houses we have there. So and right now, we were all building horizontally. Now people are building vertically. So if the chiefs can sit together and say, how many square meters of housing do we have in this Nima area? If we build vertically, how much more land can we release? So build vertically to put your people in. Then Maxwell Investment and other developers will come and use your own land in the best part of the city to build the best offices, best restaurants, and best homes for yourselves. Think about it. That's what you should do. So the leaders can do that. Come and say, I'm sitting in this house, the old man is dead, and children are fighting over rooms that have not been renovated for 50 years. Why can't you pack and talk to Maxwell? Let them go vertical. Let them put 20-story of, 4-bedroom each. And the land is left, which is your land. Now you can now decide what to do with it. That's number one. Number two, agriculture. I mean, all the meat in this country comes from the Zongo. But what do? You take them as one bull from a house. You don't aggregate. You cannot benefit. So I think the traditional leaders should learn to aggregate. Myself and my father, the Naa chairman, are leading that process in the whole of northern Ghana, which is largely the kind of responsibility Chief Banda has. We now want to aggregate so that we can produce a lot more soybean. We can export the soybean as a group. We can produce more usable bamboo so that we can aggregate and supply meat on a daily basis to the supermarkets. Because if you slaughter your cow, you're probably coming out with 60 kilos of meat. That supermarket needs 5,000 kilos of meat every day. Can you do it alone? But if you came together, would you not be more profitable? So whilst all these programs are good, and I encourage our chiefs, my advice, especially coming from the Zongo, and knowing what economic benefits are. Economic benefits are not in the individual. Economic benefits are in the aggregate. You make a lot more money.
I completely agree. But what would you say to those chiefs who, when they're approached by these public-private partnerships and they're a little bit hesitant to perhaps do business with someone who they do not know so intimately, how would you say that they should open their mind towards these public-private partnerships? And how do you think they can end up having a bigger macroeconomic effect for the entire Zongo inner city?
Thank you very much. I think what the chiefs need is a lot of advice. And let me tell you, even Ghana government makes use of advice. We want to think of programs. We bring people who are expert in that area. If a company wants to develop, they bring in advisors. So please, as chiefs, if private sector people come to partner with you, don't look at the immediate benefit you get into your pocket. Think about the people you represent, not now, but generations after you. And for that matter, if it is agriculture of any kind, please bring in the experts in that area to advise you before you go into partnership. If it is housing, bring the experts in the area to advise you so you can think about today and tomorrow and make sure the benefit accrues to both the public and private partnership in a manner that is meaningful. But what we often do, Sarikin Zongo, chief of the village, when they come, it's just you that sits with this. You know, you've not consulted even your people properly. You have not gotten professional advice, and you agree. They waste a lot of money and come, and sooner or later, it's a flash in the pan, and we go away, and we remain in our poverty. So my advice is that nobody knows it all. Nobody knows it all. Whenever development comes into your area, please seek out a specialist who have good ideas, who have seen this and done. There's nothing new under the sun. What we are going through, other countries have gone through it. People have the experience. So pull together people to advise you as community leaders so that we can be much more expansive and beneficial to the people that we lead as we cooperate with these private people to take advantage of the resources in our communities.
I think you highlight some great points there, which are also part of the MIG strategy as they go forward. We see that a lot of these projects are being based on voices of the community and listening to the actual needs and desires. How do you think that this strategy will have a bigger picture effect upon these inner city developments? Why do you really believe it is crucial to first voice the people who are affected by these programs rather than thinking of them just in a broad general sense?
I think when you talk of economic downturn, it's generally employees who are the suffering end of it. And therefore, I'm very encouraged by Maxwell and the group who are beginning to do this kind of thing. But it has to start with the people, because as I said, the skills sits with our people. It's just for the accident of history and poverty that we all sit in a place called the Zongo. It's an accident of history and poverty. So it's important that we come back there and start. If you want the best electricians in this Ghana, they're sitting in the Zongo communities. Do we have a Zongo electrical company that brings everybody together? No. You come and stand by the roadside. If you want the best plumbers, all the best plumbers are sitting in our Zongo community. Do we have a small company in the Zongo that pulls all of them together so you can get a proper office? If you have plumbers, whatever, you know, carpenters, and these are real employable skills on a daily basis that our people use. Because when you talk economic downturn, your GDP growth rate is not that high. If the GDP growth rate is not high, you're not going to get employment. Inflation is very high. If inflation is high and you are earning 500 Ghana cedis, you can only buy a fraction of what you used to buy before inflation went up. If exchange rate is where it is today, of course, we all know the immediate impact is on a gallon of petrol for your motorbike to go and. So those are the kind of things. But for you, especially those of us in the Zongos as employees, it hits you immediately. You've got to make adjustments. So I think that it's a very good development initiative for the voices of the people to be heard. Pull them out of their specialized areas. Let's aggregate them and let's resource them, train them, and provide the necessary guidance so that they can be economically beneficial to the country and to themselves in the long run, and attract a lot more people to join them.
Yeah, I think that's excellent. I think, company, it's in the word. It's about being together. It's about forming a unit of decision making. And especially with this economic downturn that we're seeing, you need this critical mass to be able to create bigger steps and move forward as a community. How do you think that certain things like access to education and access to technology can help these groups identify one another and help become a more active force within the market? MIG is working on certain things like USSD connectivity, and other approaches to create a more easy access to these services for Zongo inner cities. Where do you see that going in the next few years, and how do you think it can have a big picture effect on these communities?
If there's any initiative that can make people in the Zongo community leapfrog poverty, exactly what you have said, technology. You go to the Zongo community, these people with very minimal education can navigate any electronic portal. We only need to give them organized technology halls, call it an organized technology hall, so that we can guide their creativity. Most of them program and have very little idea what programming is about. So if there's really any initiative that can make our youth leapfrog poverty, it is harnessing and properly tooling and guiding them into ICT and using them to, because technology these days literally brings you don't even need physical shops these days, do you? You don't need physical shops. You only need big warehouses. Whether you are selling, soybean, or you are selling meat, or you are selling, you just need, and these young people with proper guidance in the communities can create technology halls, pull their resources together, and leapfrog poverty. Really transform very, very quickly. I think that's an area that I will encourage. Instead of us using it in the negative way they call Sakawa, let's harness it for proper use and let MIG and other people who have the resources and the time to help us organize these technology halls. And I think Honourable Banda, so we can harness the skills, the programming skills, the technology navigational skills. I mean, if you look at the power of computing of all the smartphones that sits in Nima, every household in Nima, you can count more than 10, phones with processing power more than anywhere else. So if we can harness all of this, we're going to live from poverty.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I believe, if you have an engineering degree and you want to build a house, you still need to find the bricks, you need to find the workers, you need to find everything else. But if you have access to technology, you have access to a computer, you're able to build that house in software, and you're able to do it with limited resource and achieve connectivity to the world. And I think it's really something that we should be pushing forward. I think perhaps it's a good time to maybe open up to the audience if there's any questions which we can field. And otherwise, I would like to thank you very much, Naa, and we'll move on to the next topic. Thank you all.